The thing I love about compilations is not just the value for money, but from a reviewer perspective, lots of potential videos. The Sonic Mega Collection was a perfect case in point. It contained some of the greatest games made by Sega in one collection, and introduced Sonic to gamers who didn't grow up with the Sega Mega Drive. However, the Sonic team weren't done. The Sonic Gems collection was released for the Nintendo GameCube and PlayStation 2 on August 2005 in Japan and North America, and Europe by September. For some unusual reason, it's not available on the Xbox. It's available exclusively on the Nintendo GameCube in North America, but it's also available on the PlayStation 2 everywhere else. This collection focuses on more obscure Sonic the Hedgehog titles, the ones that weren't popular, and individual physical copies would be even more expensive today compared to the Mega Collection titles, the treasure chest of gems. You have Sonic CD, one of the best in the franchise, Sonic R, one of the worst in the franchise, which is saying a lot. Arcade exclusive Sonic the Fighters, a simpler version of Virtua Fighter 2 with Sonic characters. The rest of the Game Gear titles Sonic Mega Collection Plus missed out on, including Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Spinball, Triple Trouble, Drift 2, Tails Sky Patrol, and Tails Adventure. And if you have a save file from Sonic Heroes or the Mega Collection, you also get Vector Man and Vector Man 2. If not, you have to unlock them first. The Japanese version also has Bonanza Brothers and the Bare Knuckle Trilogy, aka Streets of Rage. Reports suggest that these games weren't included because Sega didn't want a higher ESRB rating than E. I've already got them on the Mega Drive Ultimate Collection anyway, so I'm not that bothered by it. But you think they'd replace them with something else, like SegaSonic the Hedgehog Arcade or Knuckles Chaotix? Okay, I know the Sonic team at least tried to implement the arcade title into the collection, according to Yuji Naka, but doesn't that make the omission of Knuckles Chaotix even more questionable? I know it's not the greatest Sonic game, but neither is Sonic R. And these two can be played on more than one system, especially Sonic CD nowadays. But you can only play Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X. That's it. I've always been curious because until Sonic Mania was released in 2017, Knuckles Chaotix was the last true 2D Sonic title. The most likely explanation as to why it's not in the collection is because 32X games were hard to emulate back in the early to mid 2000s, whereas these two are the PC ports, and Sonic the Fighters received assistance from AM2, the original developers, to port it onto home consoles for the first time. The emulation is actually pretty good for a console-only compilation that came out over a decade ago. The games play exactly like their original counterparts, and the graphics are sharper. However, the sound is muffled and harsh at the same time, almost as much as the AtGame's Mega Drive. Sonic CD only uses the Japanese soundtrack in Japan, and the North American one everywhere else. However, the cutscenes are in full screen, and it auto-saves your progress unlike most games in this collection. Now you're all probably wondering why the gameplay of Sonic CD is also full screen. Well, that's because I'm using the 2011 re-release. This copy of the Sonic Gems collection I'm using is a scratched mess, meaning that Sonic CD, the main event of this collection, has no level music, no cutscenes, and freezes to the screen of death every time I either travel through time, die, try to exit to the main menu, or sometimes finish the first level. And yes, I had to restart the PlayStation 2 every time just to illustrate my point. Fortunately, as I said before, I already have a more superior version of Sonic CD, and the rest of the games in this collection work just fine. But what a ripoff if it did this brand new, though I wonder why it's only Sonic CD. There's nothing about the Game Gear titles that hasn't been said in the Mega Collection Plus review, other than being the ones that weren't in that compilation. Most of them are just compromised ports of the Mega Drive games, and are only here for novelty's sake. No matter what I play, the momentum is all over the place when controlling Sonic, and there's no option to change the button layout. You'll really wish you could when playing Sonic Spinball. They might as well be in the museum section along with artwork, videos and manuals. Like the Mega Collection, the number of times you play a certain game unlocks everything, and the menu setup looks identical. The manuals here include the PC and console counterparts, which are different layouts, along with the Game Gear ones too. One feature that stands out are the timed demos of games that were in the Mega Collection Plus. You'll be taken straight to the final level and given a certain number of minutes depending on the boss level size. And that's it. I don't know if it's there to encourage players to buy the Mega Collection or if it's part of the museum. Why not a random level and not spoil the plot? There's a lot there when you play through the games enough, but it doesn't tell you which game to play specifically to unlock a certain artwork. And when you do, the criteria is all over the place. Some require you to beat a game, fine, but others require you to play this collection on consecutive minutes or even days. And let me tell you all right now, I do not want to play 120 minutes of Sonic R. These kind of absurd requirements would be okay if this compilation existed in the 7th generation and trophy support was added, but if that were to be the case, we would also see Knuckles Chaotix and SegaSonic the Hedgehog on here too. Would I have recommended the Sonic Gems collection back in 2005? Well, the value for money and emulation quality were pretty good back then, but all I see is a PC port of Sonic CD with a few extra games. And if that's all you want, the 2011 re-release is the better option. The rest of the good ones are available in other collections, and there are better Sonic themed games out there that are almost as similar, like the All Stars Racing series for example. It's a very interesting collection. I don't know what to make of it. Like, who is it for? It's not for gamers who weren't familiar with Sonic when he was in the 3rd dimension, because they'll be turned away by the games that are average for the most part, other than Sonic CD. Like, I just don't picture gamers in the mid-2000s being interested in the Game Gear titles. And it's not for die-hard Sonic fans because it's likely they'll already have physical copies of all these games. Though to be fair, it increased my interest in the obscure titles, so there's that. This compilation is a case of not necessarily recommending but not staying away. Take what I said and decide for yourself.